AM 650 KGAB Radio. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. I've got several callers on hold, probably because of the 3D printing story we were doing last half hour. Do me a favor. I have a guest in the studio. I'll get back to your calls in just a moment. Lynn Hutchings is in the studio with me, candidate for Senate District 5 here in the state of Wyoming. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, you just pull that whole microphone thing right close to you there so everybody can hear you. So you and I have bumped into each other on and off over the course of the years, yes. Which is not seen enough of you, though. But it's been a pleasure that to know you during that time. How long have you been a citizen of the state of Wyoming?
Oh, my goodness. I was pretty much born and raised here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, let me correct myself. My mom had me in Denver.
Oh, no,
on a trip to Denver, she had me in Denver. So I was born in Colorado, but raised here in Cheyenne.
You got out of there. That's the point.
Yeah, I got out of there. Thank God. But I was pretty much raised here. Went to grade school, junior high, high school, UW. Joined the Air National Guard, and was there for several years, and then moved to Buckley, Colorado, the air base there, and then I retired out of Alaska.
Wow.
In 2000. So for 22 and a half years, I served in the National Guard.
Okay. Now, what are you doing with yourself now, doing for a living?
Well, I'm retired,
okay.
And there are a couple things I'd love to be doing, and that is playing my violin and reading my books. But we've decided to jump into politics, so I'm running for Senate seat 5. Okay.
Now, political history. Background. Let's take a look at where you've been.
All right. I started in 2010. A good friend of ours asked me to run for the House. And I said, no way would I do that. And then talked to Thomas, my husband, and we decided to do it. So we ran for the first time for House District 7. That's where I was in House District 7, ran for that. Did pretty good. And people said, run again. Okay. So I ran again,
got in.
I won.
Okay. Let's list off. So that's a good long time to be in there. So apparently during that time you got some things done. So tell me about some of your favorite accomplishments, things you're most proud of.
You know, the things I'm most proud of is when I campaigned, I said I was going to run on principles. And I think that's very important, having principles like limited government, which may sound cliche, economic freedom, and individual liberty and responsibility. So when I'm in office, not only are those principles important, but these two documents, our U.S. and our Wyoming constitutions. So in office, I found that when I looked at bills and I saw whether they were constitutional or not, and I voted yes or no or not, those were the things I was most proud of. Being able to stand for something and on something and make it work.
Okay. Lynn Hutchings is my guest. If you have any questions for her, she's running for Senate District 5, right?
Yes, sir.
Phone number to get involved, 632-6500. Let's talk a couple of issues that I know will come up with people as soon as they think of House and Senate in the state of Wyoming. Budget issues, of course, and school budget issues is one of the biggest ones. So do you have some goals for an upcoming session?
Well, you know, those are two very important issues. In fact, education and the budget are maybe the top 5 issues that come up at the front door. What's unique is those principles. Let's go back to those principles again. Knowing what your Constitution says. So when the budget is placed before you, reading that document, looking at the footnotes, look at the fiscal notes, understanding what's going on there, and having these principles will enable me to make the right decisions for Senate District 5 on both of those issues.
How did we wind up in financial trouble with the schools in the first place? Was there a mistake made somewhere along the way?
You know, that's a good question. And to say that there was a mistake made, I really can't say that. I just know in a lot of areas we spend where we shouldn't spend. And money that is allocated for a specific purpose should be used for that purpose.
Okay, so what would you do differently next time around? I'm going to give you the magic wand. You can go ahead and fix the school system, the school budget system.
That is something I will not try to do, and I'm going to be flat out honest with you. And I think anybody who says they can do that will be flat out dishonest with you. I think, again, looking at what's set before us. I'm going to give you a for instance. I was talking to a gentleman at his front door about highways. Oh, he wanted me to make sure those highways were funded. And I'm like, whoa, I'm all for that. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Then during the session, a bill came up for highway funding. Great bill. Hey, we can pass this. It was actually called the highway tax. But right in the middle of that bill, there were 3 distributions. It's like, where did this come from? There was a distribution for snowmobile trails, ATV trails, and boating on that 10 cents tax. And I stood up and said, whoa, I don't think people know this is in there. So I cannot vote for this because this 10 cents tax is supposed to go toward our roads. So because of that, and knowing that you can't make any promises until you actually see what's set before you.
So you actually read the bills. What
I
a
actually
novel
read
idea.
the bills.
Grab
yes,
your
sir.
headphones over here because there's a caller on hold for you. I'm going to get to them next. This is Glenn, who's on the phone with us.
Good morning, Glenn and Lynn. This is Lisa. How are you guys?
Okay,
Good morning,
very
Lisa.
good.
I was just thinking, Lynn, you need to get on KGAB. And there you were.
No.
I just want to put in a plug. Lynn is really hardworking, and no one person has all of the answers, but Lynn will sure do her research. And I just could not support a candidate more than I do Lynn.
Well,
Okay.
thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate that.
Good to get an
That's what I
endorsement out
thought.
there. All right, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. So in just a moment, I want to get in. We're going to take a little time out to earn some money. Then I want to ask you, speaking of money, we have other budget issues, but also a few other issues in front of our House and Senate in this coming year, so we'll talk about them next. Your questions welcome, 632-6500.
Washington's war on the West is threatening our Wyoming way of life. But Sam Galiotis is a Wyoming native who is committed to protecting our conservative values. And like President Trump, Sam Galiotis is the political outsider and successful conservative businessman we need to take on government agencies like the BLM and EPA. Sam will cut bureaucratic red tape and help President Trump repeal Obama's burdensome regulations. Because Sam Galiotis knows low taxes and less regulation will grow our economy, attract new businesses, protect the businesses that already call Wyoming home, and create new jobs for our kids. Sam's a conservative Republican who is strongly pro-life, an uncompromising defender of the Second Amendment. And as a Wyoming native, Sam Galiotis will champion the conservative family values that make us Wyoming. Conservative Republican businessman Sam Galiotis for governor. Conservative ideas and a fresh perspective for Wyoming. Paid for by Galiotis for governor.
Wyoming families work hard, plan for the future, and live within our means. Conservative Republican Foster Friess believes that government should do the same. Meet Foster Friess.
I'm Foster Friess. Everyone talks about stabilizing the state budget, but we first need to let you know what's in it. Wyoming is one of only 3 states that hasn't opened its books to the people. That's unacceptable.
As governor, Foster Friess will open the books, demanding full transparency and putting Wyoming taxpayers before special interests. Because that's the kind of accountability Wyoming families deserve.
I can't be bought. I'm not taking special interest money for my campaign, and as governor, I won't take a salary. It's time to take away special interest seat at the table and give it back to you.
Conservative Republican Foster Friess for governor. Paid for by Friess for governor. Approved by Foster Friess.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit porky, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-511-3535. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-511-3535. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-511-3535. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-511-3535. 800-511-3535. 5.
It's AM 650 KGAB Radio. My name is Glenn Woods. Thanks for joining me. The phone number to get involved, 632-6500. Time is now 7:47 and 56 degrees. Lynn Hutchings in the studio with me, and she is running District 5 Senate for the state of Wyoming. So, of course, we talk about school budget issues here in the state of Wyoming, but that's not the only issue in front of the state. Part of it, I mean, a lot of it just revolves around money right now. A lot of big money issues, including the idea of diversifying our tax structure. I even heard people suggesting that, well, Wyoming needs a state income tax. Of course, I reject that out of hand. But still, we're so heavily reliant on the mineral industry for our taxes. Is there a way to sort of spread it around so when the next bust happens, and it will, where the state itself is not going to wind up hurting because of it?
Very good question, Glenn. When I think about the boom and bust cycles, and let me put this plug in, I am not for a state income tax.
Okay.
That won't happen in Senate District 5, at least from the candidate or the senator, if I get in. During our boom cycles, just common sense, we have to learn to save. And when we have bust cycles, or the bust cycles, we have to learn to spend within our means. When Tom and I were both retired, we don't go out and try to buy new vehicles when we have limited income, and that's what the state needs to do. It's very, 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 very simple. And that
gets back to the limited government that you were talking about earlier. Grab your headphones again. Another call on the line.
Okay.
This is Glenn, who's on the phone with us.
Hi, Glenn. Hi, Lynn. This is Maureen.
Hello, Miss Maureen.
And I just wanted to second what Lisa said. I've known Lynn for several years now, and thank you so much for your patriotism, for your serving this country. I really personally appreciate that. And what I really appreciate about Lynn is she stands up for her beliefs. She has a moral compass based upon biblical values, and it's nice to know that we have the possibility of having someone in our politics here who has that kind of belief system. And so you go, girl. Thanks a lot.
Another
Bye-bye.
good plug there. Lynn Hutchings is running for District 5. Where is, for those who don't know, where's District 5? What are your boundaries?
Wow, boundaries. Boundaries are a little above Ridley Road, west of I-25, goes all the way down to I-80, goes to the Albany County line, west. East will go to Evans and goes up around the airport, little up Powder House, comes in through Melton, I believe, and up Wilshire, and up through New Bedford, which is above the Maverick, and south I-80 and Pershing. The north side of Pershing is mine.
It's a lot of walking when you're campaigning.
Let me tell you, and I am one of those who loves to walk and knock on doors. I think last session I knocked on every door that did not have a no soliciting or no trespassing sign.
Especially the no trespassing signs in Wyoming. Get yourself in trouble. Back to the phones I go. This is Glenn. Who's on the phone with us? Okay, if you want to try it back, lost that one. 632-6500 is the phone number. Here's some things you and I could have a long talk about. What is the proper role of government? What isn't the proper role of government? But back to diversifying the economy, something I hear a lot from candidates. Is it the role of government? If so, what can the state do? What can you do from your position?
And see, I'm one of those who believes it's not our role to get into diversifying our economy. I believe in economic freedom. I believe people should be able to come into town, start up a business with their own funds or funds of investors that they've chosen, and succeed or fail on their own merits, on the demands of the citizens and no one else. I think when government gets involved, we have government programs, and government programs are hard to stop. it's so important for us to have that economic freedom, individual freedom, and responsibility. If I start up a business and I can't succeed, then I'm going to have to try something else.
Okay, so what about the governor's Endow program, where and that includes some airline subsidies as well?
Yes, it does, and I am totally against subsidizing businesses.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
With taxpayer dollars, I think people have forgotten as my friend likes to call it, the forgotten man, and that's the taxpayer. As I read the paper these last few days, one of the things I've noticed is there are a lot of people, or a few people, telling us what we need, and so few of us listening to what the people are telling you they want. So programs like Endow, I think, try to tell us what we need versus what we, as the citizens, are saying we want here.
Lynn Hutchings is a candidate for Senate District 5 here in the state of Wyoming. If you have any questions, 632-6500 is the phone number. Governor, I thought, did ask an interesting question during, I think it was a few years ago, when it came to the rainy day fund. What exactly is a rainy day? When is it okay to dip into the fund?
Well, as you know, we've been dipping into it quite a bit, and I don't believe it's been raining. For me, let's go back to my analogy of my own household. If I'm saving for a rainy day, I look at a rainy day as a day when maybe a tornado comes through town, or my roof gets blown off, or someone hits my car, and I don't have enough funds in my regular savings to pay for it. So, hey, we're going to have to make a decision here. Do we dip into that fund that's for the rain, not just raining, but pouring? Putting rain in my basement and flooding my carpet and my furniture. Those are the critical times when we need to dip into our funds. Hurricanes, tornadoes, big issues, not just, hey, we've got a new project here that the governor or someone wants to put out, and let's go dipping into that money to pay off or to balance our budget. I'm not for that.
But it sounds to me like you've been fighting a losing battle so far. As conservative as Wyoming is compared to other states, you're still fighting a losing battle in there.
Well, you know what? That's okay. Fighting the battle, you don't always win every battle. And standing on principles and things you believe in, no matter if you lose, I'm the type, unless you kill me, I'm going to keep fighting for what I believe is right.
Okay. Well, that's been a lot of time walking. Other candidates, I usually turn to them at some point and say, how's that new set of tires working out? Because you got to drive, all over the state to run for an office. But for you, I guess it's how's that new set of sneakers working out? Because you're hitting the bricks and just knocking on doors and talking to people, right?
Well, let me tell you, it is funny. I do have a pair of shoes that have a little round hole in it. The asphalt's pretty rough on shoes and tires. But for candidates, the biggest thing I think we have to contend with are dogs.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I've been chased by a few. In fact, I've been bitten so far this year, and it's kind of interesting.
Okay.
Wear cowboy boots and have bones.
I have the solution for you on that one. I gave this idea when I was living in Augusta, Georgia for a little while, and there was a postal worker who was having that problem. So I got him one of those little pop-open umbrellas. You push the button, it pops open. You put that between you and the dog. The dog doesn't know that it can rip through it. It works out just fine.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Where do people find you online? You got a website, a Facebook page?
I have Hutchings for Senate.com, and that's FOR. I have Hutchings space 4 space Senate on Facebook, and they can call me at home, or they can email me at hutchingsforsenate@gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you for coming in.
Appreciate
you,
Doug,
your time.
for having me. I appreciate it.
AM 650 KGAB Radio or KGAB.com. If you missed all of this interview or even just part of it, you can go to our website, KGAB.com. It'll be there with the story. Also go to Facebook, because the video is already there on Facebook, and you'll be able to watch the entire interview. Coming up on Rush Limbaugh's Morning Update right now.